make a unanimous consent request?
Yes, I would.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you.
The gentleman from South Carolina is recognized.
Ms. Hageman, thanks for putting this bill up. You know, the American people spoke loud and clear in this last election. They're sick and tired of elections. They're sick and tired of bureaucrats making rules where they have no idea what they're making. They've never worked in the private sector. They're the burden, and it's unbelievable that the CBO would argue and give numbers like they have, that cutting regulations is going to add to the deficit. It's also kind of strange, at a budget hearing, were you aware that CBO came up with an estimate that the 15 million illegals in this country actually produce income from America? Were you aware of that?
No, but I think it tells you everything you need to know.
Well, it's laughable if it wasn't so serious. That's where I lost complete faith in them. My question was, how'd you come up with that number? And he went through some analysis. I said, well, does it include the airline flights that taxpayers are paying for? Does it include the medicine that I saw stacked up when I went to McAllen, Texas? No. Well, how'd you come up with this? If you're not including the cost, to put out a number, you shouldn't be putting it out. And so, and like my good friend from Kentucky mentioned, they've kind of their own agency that comes up with their own numbers to fit their own narrative. So I think President Trump is not only going to cut regulations, he's going to put some of these bureaucrats, either let them, if they can't justify the existence, let them go, or put them on $1 a year and let them work in some remote country that they can do whatever they want to do. So I have no confidence that this number's right, and I have no confidence that once they gave the figure on illegals being a plus for this country, I said that's it. But
And I think that their math on this particular bill itself tells you that it is inaccurate. The CBO claims that the bill would affect revenues by increasing operating costs for the Federal Reserve System, which remits its net earnings to the Treasury, and those remittances are classified as revenues in the federal budget. Based on the cost of similar activities, CBO estimates that the increased costs under the bill would reduce revenues by $7 million over 2025 to 2034. But why does the CBO assume that there's a drop in revenue after the 5th year of enactment? They don't give that information. Right now, our colleagues have introduced a bill called Show Your Work Act, and what that would do would require the CBO to actually show its work so that we're not sitting here guessing as to how they came up with the numbers, as well as going back to Ms. Scanlon's comments about the RFA. There's a couple of things. First of all, the Prove It Act does not authorize the Small Business Administration to review the substantive policy of regulations. It just makes the agencies actually do legitimate RFA analyses. In other words, do the economic analysis of what the cost would be. Also, in my experience as a private attorney, I have sued various federal agencies for failing to comply with the Regulatory Flexibility Act because, number one, they're underestimating the cost of regulations or they're not providing the information at all. And what the courts have said is that you do not have the right to bring a private cause of action under the RFA. So there is no mechanism by which citizens, by which small businesses, by which individuals are able to actually enforce the RFA requirements, and that's what the Prove It Act is designed to do. It is designed so that we can go in and we can force the agencies to do what they're required to do by the RFA, which I still cannot understand why anyone would be opposed to transparency with agencies actually showing us the legitimate cost of the regulations that they are issuing. And if the agency has complied with the RFA, then the regulation will apply to small businesses as usual. There's nothing that changes that. So when a regulation is adopted, whether it's about cribs or it's about car seats or whatever it may be, if they have legitimately complied with the RFA and disclosed the real cost of the regulation will go into effect and that information will be disclosed. All the Prove It Act does is require them to, again, give us the information, and I can't understand why anybody would be opposed to that.
Well, they're opposed to it because they're part of the problem. They're part of the process. And, you know, they've got a job making 6 figures or greater, and this benefits them to come up with these outlandish numbers. Mr. McGovern mentioned the cynicism that exists between the American people. American people are cynical now, and it proved in this last election of what this administration is doing. I just got a text. They're giving $8 billion to Angola because of drought. $6 billion in the Wall Street Journal to a car company that's losing $107,000 per car. They're fed up with this kind of thing. Trump is going to fix it. I do think that Ramaswamy and Elon Musk are going to shine a light on just what you're trying to do with the businesses. So, with that, I yield back.
Thank you.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Gentleman yields back. The